Oh, sing, children of the world, come together and hear the call. Sing, children of the world, Islam will unite us all. Subhanallah walhamdulillah, wallahu akbar. Subhanallah walhamdulillah, wallahu akbar.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome once again in our continuing series about schools. We're entitling it Our Schools, What We're Missing. Now, in the last series of programs, we've been, as you know, discussing many different aspects of schools and how to improve our general standards of schools. And I happen to think that anyone that watching this program would receive a lot of benefits. They could probably even start their own school. Dr. Mamdouh, welcome once again. We're continuing with you, with us throughout this series. How are you today?
Fine, wonderful, alhamdulillah.
Excellent, lovely to have you back on the show. Alhamdulillah. We're entitling this particular episode a portrait of an excellent class. Would you like to start by giving us what you would see as a portrait of an excellent class?
I think this may require a series of lectures about it, but anyway, we'll try to pick some qualities or some features of an excellent class. One of them, we want to relate this to any school, principal, teachers, parents should insist on an excellent class. We said that this concept of excellence, this concept of perfection, we need to target perfection. We need to see whatever is good and we try to do it. We reach perfection. So the concept of perfection should dominate our life. I think we cannot live without it. We need to do something very good. This is to make our life better, to make the school system better, to make the outcomes that would come from the school system much, much, much better than nowadays. So it's the concept of perfection, the concept of excellence.
And we said these things are ongoing, aren't they?
They are ongoing. They will never stop because there is a competition among schools, among countries. There is always a competition, ongoing competition. So there is always ongoing excellence, ongoing, because what is perhaps good now may not be good after tomorrow if the bar is raised. The countries are competing and they are coming up with new things, new strategies. So we need to be aware of what's happening internationally in order to, maintain this level of perfection and maintain this level of excellence. I want the parents all the time to ask for the best. I'm quite sure that the principals, the eager principals, or the owners of the school should also chase this concept of excellence and try to find it. Try to find good examples or best examples somewhere in the world and see whether this can fit into their schools or not. Of course they can. It's teaching math in England would not differ a lot from teaching math from the USA or from teaching math in Canada or in any other country. Perhaps the difference here may be in the language, in the tool of instruction, the language of instruction that they use. An excellent lesson would feature something like an interactive class. Remember in one of the episodes we talked about one-way teaching? The teacher is talking in a wonderful way, speaks very eloquently, and the students are listening. This is not a sign of having not even a good class. This is a sign of one-way teaching. This is a sign that the teacher focuses only on knowledge and ignoring skills. When we see an interactive class, we see that the students and the teachers are fully engaged in the learning process.
Because they are, in effect, inside this partnership. We
Yes,
talked about,
it's partner again. And this is another type of partnership. This is, in fact, partnership, but the highest percentage would go for the students. So an interactive class where the students would ask the teachers the questions. The teacher would answer the question. The teacher would raise some questions for specific students, and the students would ask questions amongst themselves. So this is the type of interaction. So it's between the teacher and the students, between the teacher, the students and the other students, between different groups of students. It's very interactive. So this is one quality of, it's not a quality of when we used to learn this.
Okay, so the first point we've got here is really that the lesson is being driven and the focus is on the students.
Yes, exactly.
The students are driven, and the teacher is acting, as we said before.
Students-centered classroom.
And the teacher is acting, as we said before, as a facilitator.
Facilitator, yes. Or you can call him other, qualities. We will come to this right now.
Okay. So if I was a parent looking at, maybe observing a class, if we had this open, transparent nature, then that's a quality I'd look for. I'd look for that interaction and this drive coming from the students.
With this interaction comes many things. First of all, let me compare this scenario with the scenario that was going on in the past, where you get into the class, you find the class is quiet, all the students are calm.
I think many teachers wish that that's the case now.
Many teachers would wish that that's the case, but this is not the learning. It's one way teaching, and the students are learning little with the decreasing amount of focus or the focus span of the students. We're getting less and less benefit. So we need to make this balance. Anyway, so this is one feature. But with the interactive class comes for example, a feature like the quality of questioning strategies. What type of questions that are raised by students and what type of questions that are raised by the teachers? Is it a type of closed questions that would require a student to say yes or no, or to say specific date or a specific piece of information? This is very good, but it may represent 10%, 15% of the time in the class. What we need is the questions that begin with, okay, why? What are the reasons? Is it possible to see it from a different perspective? A type of open questions that would encourage students to think. Why did it happen that way? Had you been there, would your opinion be different from your opinion now? If you changed your place, if you changed your location in the site, would you change your opinion?
So we're going again back to encouraging this thinking process.
Absolutely.
What you've termed
it's the
critical
whole of it,
thinking.
because the more you think, the more you become ready to receive. The intake becomes very easy for you when your brain is active. And the thinking, what it makes is that it makes you active, ready, vibrant, and you are ready to receive.
Okay. And I guess there must be quite when you're thinking, you're motivated, aren't you?
You're motivated.
You're enthusiastic.
You're motivated. You're enthusiastic. When you are not thinking, what is your opinion? Oh, yes, I think it's okay. Even from the tone, you can see that the student is not fully engaged. He just give you a simple answer, and that's it. And this is also related to the curriculum. The curriculum that we're talking about is a broad curriculum. It covers many aspects, and also it's deep. So it's not just superficial. So that's why the curriculum itself should give a room for these critical questions, critical thinking questions. Should give a room for the students to do some activities or to solve some problems. This is one quality, one feature of a good class.
Okay, so we've had, first we had that there should be interaction, and the second part is that there should be questions which go deeper into the material to encourage this deep thinking, this critical thinking. This is a sign of a good class. Well, can you help us with one or two other features to indicate?
In fact, in one class, we've seen that in many classes, in fact, and we wish that this model would be adopted by many schools and many teachers. We've entered some classrooms and we found that we were looking for the teachers. Where are the teachers? We found the students are there. They are doing the job. They are doing the role of the teacher. They were, So they were explaining the lessons, they were directing the students to the answer, they are asking questions, they are receiving questions from the students, they are doing the job of the teacher. And we felt very proud to see such a thing happening in an Arab country.
Okay, well this is seems to be a very, very advanced level. Let's kind of highlight to the viewers what you think is the key from moving to the teacher-delivered course and the teacher-delivered lesson to getting to the point where a student feels confident enough to actually be teaching other students from there. How do we move from that to
remember that those teachers, one time, they were students. And it is the training and the knowledge they got, so they were able to play the role of teachers. You can find that sometimes it happened with me personally when my teacher himself, one of the supervisors in one of the schools, he was the same one who was teaching me in the same school. After a few years, we became colleagues and we were teaching in the same school. So it's just a matter of time. And even I think the future for the young generation is much better because they are more flexible. They know a lot about technology. So they have some good qualities that would prepare them for doing the job. I'm trying to say here, when we enter a class and we find the students are doing the role are playing the role of the teacher, that means this is the outcome of the teacher. It is the teacher who made them to reach this level.
So they've reached a level of understanding where they are
able training
yes. to both comprehend the material and teach it to others.
It's not necessary that the material would be a very long lesson. It would be even very short lesson, 5 minutes for each student. He would prepare it. He would have some time to sit with the teacher to review the material, and the teacher should allow them, give them some room for being creative. Yes, this is an issue, that to be creative, and I'd like to elaborate on it. The more you give opportunities to the teachers and the students to be creative in presenting their lessons. I have seen...
Hey, Doctor, we're gonna stop right there for a break. Reviewing with the Doctor the portrait of a perfect class. We've heard some key features of what the Doctor has said. We're going to take a break right now. We'll be back right after the break.
In your standpoint of view, are there specific or certain criteria to choose your spouse or a partner, to marry or not to marry? Maybe that's the question. Do we revise the quality of performance of our treatment between the family members as fathers or mothers? As they say usually, it's not what you say, it's how would you say it. Wouldn't you like to be a good storyteller for your kids? Neurobiologically speaking, child abuse and emotional trauma causes scars in the brain of the child, and this might be not easily healing. What's the exact job description of a father? Is it clothing, payments, and feeding, or other important things? Well, I think the job description of a father is merely giving him love and care, self-confidence, giving him sense of security, and checking for the points of strength to stress on them. What about potty training and its planning? Oh yeah, actually, it's a state, it's a condition. Fatherhood is not a body or a person, it's a state. Are you a good or skillful designer for the policy and the long-term plans of the life of your kids? Join us every Wednesday for Family Issues.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to Our Schools What Is Missing. In this episode we've been talking about the different areas, the idea of a perfect class, a portrait of a perfect class. Doctor was just underlining some key features of what he sees as a perfect or an excellent class. Doctor, would you like to continue what you were saying?
I think I still prefer the word excellent class, not a perfect class, because perfection is almost impossible, because once you achieve it, you find something better. So I think the choice of the word excellent, or at least good, would be something reasonable. One of the good practices that I've seen in my life in education, I saw a teacher of math, but I saw him teaching drama. And an activity, period. So he was teaching drama. He had a group of students and he was teaching them drama, and he was teaching them a very small concept. This concept is the concept of the mirror. So I would act something and you act as a mirror. So for example, I raise my head and you need to raise your head, right? I raise my right hand and you need to raise your
right hand.
No, your left
My
hand.
left hand.
So in the mirror, so you need to raise your left hand. So I was trying to do it, and he made it on individual level, and then he made it but two people are working in front of two people, and it was really an amazing thing. What is good is that when I discussed it with some of the teachers later, one of them said that this can be a very good introduction in my lesson when I teach the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Al-mu'minu mir'atu akhi, is the believer is the mirror of his brother. So here, that he got immediately, he benefited from what was going on, and he said that I can apply this in teaching a lesson about the hadith or the saying of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam as an introduction, and this would make it really an interesting lesson. Here is the creativity. It's the teacher of math, teaching drama, teaching a concept of mirror, and this had benefited a teacher of hadith or the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this teacher, last teacher, was so creative that he would use this and integrate it in one of the lessons. This is the creativity that we are looking for. We need teachers to be creative, and you cannot just be creative by yourself. You need to learn from others. You need to learn from the experience of others. They have done the work and it's ready for you. You just take it and integrate it in a good way, which can fit very well in your subject. This is one example. Another thing, another feature that you look for in a good class, you find the teacher has planned his lesson. And even in his planning, you would find him or her taking some notes and writing some notes while he is delivering the lesson, because when he planned the lesson and he's delivering it, he would find something new that he never thought of, that he could get this, and he would modify it. He would put it, for example, in the same lesson if he teaches it to other class, or if he teaches it even next semester, or so he would make some modifications and he would take some notes, or she would take some notes based on what happened in the classroom and based on the reaction of the students or what happened in the class. You would find a teacher who even looked by minutes. He would write, okay, I would assign the first 5 minutes for an introduction. He would make a striking introduction. I still remember some teacher who taught me approximately 35 years old. And when I was at that time, I still remember exactly what they made in the introduction. They succeeded to implant it in our brains. Why? Because it was so unique that I still remember it right now. And so you'd find a teacher, for example, the first 5 minutes or 3 minutes, 2 minutes for the introduction, depending on the topic. Again, you would see him trying to make a link between the present lesson and the previous lesson, or the previous lessons. And then after that, he would write, or he would ask the students to write the goals. He would give them the objectives, to write the learning objectives of the lesson. And you see the difference between a good teacher and not a good teacher, that the first one would write these learning objectives in a measurable way. You can measure. If a parent is there, if the principal is there, if an expert is there, he can measure whether the teacher has achieved these goals or not. Not only that, I found some examples of teachers who would write these goals and he would assign some students in the class and would tell them that at any time during the delivery of the subject, if you find that we covered one of the objectives, you go by yourself, you work independently, and you go and cross-check that we covered this goal or this objective. And I have seen the whole lesson, and I was really impressed by the teacher and enjoyed that. And I found that the students themselves would go and check the goal or the objective, the learning objective, if it had been covered.
Wow.
Something amazing. So the students here can evaluate whether the teacher himself is fulfilling and is achieving the learning objectives that he heard.
I think all this. I mean, we've mentioned so many things here. We've mentioned creativity. We've mentioned planning. We've mentioned introductions. Mentioned a seamless introduction where you're attaching lessons onto other lessons through your introduction. We mentioned this idea of observation and evaluation. I think one of the things that strikes me is the trust. I think that has to exist between the various stakeholders here, the teacher and the students. Is trust an important thing in the lesson?
Oh, of course. Building trust is something very important. And by the way, the Prophet ﷺ was so eager to build this trust to the degree that, you know, that he was labeled as the trustworthy by the Arabs, even before he was a messenger. So building the trust from the very beginning is something very important, that if it is done, so the students would trust their teachers, and definitely the outcome would be really something good.
Okay. Can I want to just ask you right here, we talked a lot about this, we've painted this, you've painted this portrait.
We just painted little parts
just
of
a little
the
part
whole
of it,
portrait, yeah.
And I'd like to ask you, how have you found, from your experience, how have students reacted to this? I mean, you've obviously seen an example of these excellent classes, and how have these students actually reacted? What's been their feeling inside the class? Tell me.
The impression that you get, and you can see it by yourself, they are enjoying learning. And not only that, they feel that they own the class. They feel that they has a say in the class. And you can see that even if somebody tells you that you don't know the teacher, if he's young, for example, you don't know who is the teacher and who is the student. You feel that, like the Prophet ﷺ, when you enter, if he's sitting with a group of people, it becomes very difficult for you, if you don't know him, that to know that this is the Prophet or this one isn't. He was sitting on the same ground. He was, the amount of saying that he said, he would allow the people to talk sometimes more than he talks. He would listen more than he talks, and that's what's very important. We want the teachers to listen more than they talk.
Okay.
This is another feature.
So
because if the teacher listens, that means the students are doing the talk. They are putting their own input. They show the amount of learning they got, and they share it with others. This is another feature that you can see inside the classrooms.
Okay, lovely. What about the challenge of the incorporation of pair work and group work in these? I mean, that has to be a feature. Is that a really salient feature?
No doubt, depending on the task. It's not meant for itself. But the teacher has to find in the curriculum, or he can design some tasks that would allow, give a room for students to work collaboratively.
We've obviously talked about that in previous
episodes.
Yes, we
talked
about. What about specifically pair work? I mean, does that help?
Oh yeah, of course, because this group work can take different levels. It can be dual work by 2 students. It can be by 3 students. Let me give you an example of the dual work. In one of the classes that really I enjoyed very much, when I entered the class, a teacher, she was teaching reading. And I was there in the class, and she asked each two students to read at the same time. So they would open page 63, for example, and they start reading together at the same time they are reading. And they finish the whole page at the same time. You never find any discrepancy between them. I think the message that I got was, have you seen better than this? The message there was that those students are well trained to do that job, that they can read at the same pace, right, without any mistake. So that means they are very well trained in reading. And then she gave me an opportunity. She said that you may select the students, because she might have trained those students. She said that you can ask any two students. And I selected two students. Yes, one is sitting here and the other one is sitting here, and I asked them to read, and they did the same job.
Okay. Now this is all very well and good, and a lot of teachers maybe perhaps are trying to incorporate this group work. How can we ensure that every member of that group and every member or that pair, both of them or all of them, are actually working? How can we ensure that?
This is the example that I gave you. The two of them are doing the reading. So the two of them, all of them read the 20 or the 25 lines in the book. So they are working, both of them, right? So this is an example that you can see it by yourself. Perhaps in group work, right? You can monitor that when you come close to a group while it's working, and to observe many things. Are they really working, all of them? Or each one of them is involved, engaged in the discussion? Do they have a specific assignments? For example, someone is writing, right? Someone is going to present. One of them is a presenter. One of them is a leader. One of them is a documenter. One of them is a timekeeper. So each one has a separate assignment, which is something very important, because this organization would help them to work together. Each one knows what he or she is doing in the class.
And sometimes I think it maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, a good idea that everyone should be aware of what the others are doing, so you can ask them about the other person's job even.
Yes, yeah, this is very good. And you finally, at the end of the lesson, you would find this person from this group is presenting, or sometimes the whole group comes in front and they make their presentation, and they are ready for questions from their peers or from their colleagues.
Okay.
Now they address them to see how much they understood from the work that they have done.
Okay, thank you very much, Doctor. That's all we've got time for this episode. The Doctor giving us the salient features, some of the salient features of an excellent class as he sees it. Thank you very much, Doctor. We hope to see you again in the next series. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Oh, sing, children of the world, come together and hear the call. Sing, children of the world, Islam will unite us all. Sing, children of the world, come together and hear the call. Sing, children of the world, Islam will unite us all. Subhanallah walhamdulillah wallahu akbar. Subhanallah walhamdulillah wallahu